Hi there, I'm Budda and you're watching Dr. Guitar, a show for all you guitarists out there. In today's episode, I'm doing one that a lot of people have asked. I'm comparing the broadcast dual, my broadcast tool, with a lone one, a single foot switchable broadcast, and to try to make sure if they are exactly the same. First, I will guide you through my broadcast, my Hudson Electronics broadcast dual. I'm playing my Strat with Texas Special, the Royal Atlantic. This is the clean tone. This amp is gorgeous. The broadcast. So let me guide you through the broadcast if you don't know the amp. This is just a Moore thing I put on the pedal, but it is a regular foot switch. So this is gain. I'm sorry. This is low cut, which cuts the bass. This is gain. This is level for the first side of the channel, and this is level for the second, for the more distorted. And when you kick in this green side, you actually are clipping more gain. So in the mono, in the uni, not dual version, this is exactly the same as this, except this is foot switchable and this is not. So I think they should sound exactly the same. It's just a foot switch that is changing, and this one has an extra knob, so you can, when you foot switch the second gain stage, you can control if you want it louder or quieter. And there's an internal trim pot, and there's the trickery. This is germanium, this is handmade, so sometimes the components are not exactly the same, so the knobs in the same spot doesn't mean that the pedal will sound the same. And the way I tweaked the inside pots, I don't want too much drive on it on the second channel, so I turn it a little lower. So they might be a little different, but I think they are very similar. So this is the clean tone, and this is the first side of the pedal. Already with too much drive for me. So it cleans really well. It plays perfectly. I really, really love the broadcast. It's one of my favorite drives because it is kind of an amp in a box. But if we turn the low cut all the way to the left, it's as it is off, and it has a lot of bottom end. And of course, if it has more low end, it has more energy, more harmonics, so it distorts a lot more than if you cut the low end. So let's hear how the low cut works. As I'm turning it to the right, it cuts the bass, so it allows you to get a cleaner bass and a thinner tone, which by itself is not that incredible, but in a band it's perfect. Have a listen with the amp on clean. Another great thing about the low cut is that, for example, in this amp I have a lot of headroom. I have 100 watt amp and a clean tone. But if I'm playing through my Supros, for example, which are low wattage, low headroom, the bass takes a lot of headroom off. So if you have the amps on the verge of breakup and you add bass, it will crap. It will be mushy, it will distort a lot, it will compress a lot, and it will not cut through the mix. So I'm playing live and I step on the broadcast as my solo pedal, and the sound goes away. I sink into the mix instead of cutting through the mix. So taking the bass off allows the amp to not compress as much and the guitar to be a little sharp. Okay. And this is usually how I use my broadcast. So low cut at noon, gain trim at noon, level here, and then this level a little louder. So it boosts a little bit the tone, but not too much in the first channel. For example, this is my main pedal on the Blues Experience tour, where Budda Power Blues, my band, plays with a jazz singer, and this is my main pedal, and it's almost always on because it reacts so well to the guitar's volume. So I can be playing a clean tone. And it also plays really good with your playing dynamics. So volume on 10, all on 10. If I play hard, okay? If I play soft, so it reacts really beautifully. And then you have the second one, which is a lot gainier, a lot fuzzier. So if I have my first, and I have it a little louder than the first channel. It's incredible. And if you get all the bottom end in, you get a fuzzier tone. Man, this pedal is freaking unbelievable. This is why it is one of my favorite overdrive pedals, for sure. And the thing I really like on it is that you can turn your modern amp, as the Royal Atlantic is, into a vintage feeling and sounding amp. If you lower the first side of the gain a little bit more, so it is very clean without the pedal. The feeling is completely different. So you have compression, you have kind of overdrive, but it's kind of playing a tiny amp, kind of playing a smaller amp with a big amp. And that's really good because you can get different flavors, different feeling. It's definitely one of my favorite pedal. Now, if you have been following this show, you know I love double pedals. So the fact that this pedal has two switches, like a second gainier setting, it's perfect for me because I take one pedal, in one pedal I have it all. That's why I have two dual broadcasts and not a single broadcast, because live, this switch is not helpful to me. And when you turn it, you don't have a second level, you don't have it foot switchable. So you have to choose between the gainier setting or the less gainier setting. but for studio use, it's okay. But a lot of people have been saying that they sound different. And the thing, I've been testing it, and I think they sound very similar. The thing is that they are finicky with components, and they have trim pots inside, so you can adjust it to make it sound a little different. And it's very difficult to make it sound exactly the same. So for you to know it, this broadcast, which is on my Blues Experience pedal board, it's the nano board you've watched me build here in the show. It's a nano pedal train, a nano plus with very small pedals. This broadcast is on that board. Sounds different than the broadcast that is on my big board, my Pedal Train Pro, which is my Budda Power Blues main board with the ES8 switching, etc. And they sound a little different. They're not exactly the same, at least with the knobs on the same position, because a lot of you might have the knob here, but maybe here it's perfect. It's like the Prince of Tone and the King of Tone. They sound similar, but they are never the same. So let's compare it either way, all at noon. The single one. They are a little different in feeling, but I think it's just the settings, as I told you. So this sounds a little gainier, and you've watched me move inches, a little millimeters. Just this changed a lot in a pedal, and probably inside the trim pots are adjusted differently. So I think that's the thing, but they both sound great. Now this sounds thinner. Now they swapped. Yeah, this sounds a little brighter, but it's almost the same thing. Let's crank the gain on the cleaner setting. There's definitely a change in mid-range, in the low mids. So this is a little thinner than this one. Let's turn all the EQ off, max it off. Okay, they are a little different. I think it's probably the internal trims, and as I told you, they are all different because they are made that way, but I think they are both great pedals. Let's hear this one with the maximum gain. Great pedal, great pedal. But I wouldn't buy the single just because it is a little different from the dual. I think the dual allows me a lot more flexibility. Let's hear the dual with the same settings. So yeah, I get it. So this one is a little more meat scoop, a little more fuzz-facey sounding than this. So even one reason more, so I prefer the dual. I don't like the scoopiness. Let's hear it with the Les Paul. So this is the clean tone, same settings on the amp, and the Les Paul already overdrives it, and it is a lot darker. Let's hear the broadcast on the first channel. So this allows me, if I use a Les Paul on the neck pickup with the volume on 1, it allows me to do the Jimmy Page trick, so clean channel. Dirty channel. So by switching from the neck pickup to the bridge pickup, I have clean tone and drive tone. The Jimmy Page trick, and this amp sounds this. Let's test it this way and then Try the same thing with the other. Yeah, this is definitely, the dual is definitely brighter than the single. But it is, as I told you, I don't think it's because of the single and the dual. I think it's because they are different units and they all have different characters. But I like both. I tend to prefer this one because it's a lot brighter. It cuts better through the mix. It all depends on the amp you're playing, the tone you have on the amp. But this is super great, super great. Let's test this with yeah, this cuts a lot. This dual cuts a lot better than the single. The single is scooped, so one more reason I prefer the dual. And it gets kind of Velcro-y. What a great pedal. It reminds me of a vintage amp tone. This is why I love it, because it's not tight in the bottom end. It's not very heavy, very deep. So if you listen to the Royal Atlantic Red channel, which is a modern gain channel. Listen to the bottom end when I palm mute. And now with the broadcast. The blue channel. It's that bottom end that really flubs it and makes it flubby, makes it not pleasing. Well, it's not pleasing. It's modern. It's tighter, and this sounds like a vintage amp, and it allows me to change any amp to a vintage amp, but it also allows me to sound like a kind of a tube screamery. I love it. I really, really love it. It's one of my favorite pedals, and the low cut is incredible on a pedal. And for example, the Tube Screamer does it automatically, so when you turn it on, it cuts a little of the bass. That's why it's such a great treble, a great boost, a great solo boost, because it tightens it, it shortens your amplitude of harmonics and content, and it makes it be on the mid range and on the higher mid range. So it's what our ear listens better, because we are trained. It's the range of the human voice. So we are very trained to perceive tones in that range. And cutting the bass makes it sound a little thinner, but it gives space to the bass player and to the bass drum. So puts the guitar on the right space if you want it. It's great. Well, that's it. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, share it with the world. We'll see each other next Monday. Bye-bye.